राजकुमार प्रेयर बोलेंगे राजकुमार जी।
यस सर। हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है। इसी में ही हमारा आत्म विकास समाया है।
Okay. So last time we did third niyama. Today we'll be doing fourth. So Sutra 44 of chapter 2. Sutra reads Swadhyayat Ishta Devata Samprayoge. Swadhyayat Ishta Devata Samprayoge. It means that स्वाध्याय से इष्ट देवता से मिलन होता है. From the repetition of the mantras, that is Swadhyaya, communion with the desired deity is established. So we know that in our thinking, each one has own Ishta Devata. We are inclined towards a particular deity. So this is the tradition in India. Persons belonging to the same family living together, each may have different deity as Ishta. So somebody might be worshipping Krishna, somebody might be worshipping Ram, somebody might be worshipping Shiva, and so on. And the various forms of Vishnu, Shiva, they may worship. Somebody may be worshipper of sun. So each one will have a divinity and Ishta Devata, which can be called as favorite god. So how the Ishta Devata is selected? We are exposed to the various forms of divinity right from our childhood. And then according to our personality traits, according to our needs, according to what inspires us, according to what is needed for us, according to our own minds, we decide which deity we want to worship. And accordingly, normally we worship. So you will find there are people who will keep fast on Mondays. Right now, Shravan month is going on. Adhik Mas is also there. So there are lots of worshippers of Shiva, and they strictly follow this Shravan month. So they will do vrat, upas, fasting, and they will chant mantras. And there are traditions that, mantras are selected which represent particular deity. And then that mantra is chanted, keeping in mind the image, the power, the form, the divinity, which is represented by that mantra. So often you will find that, example would be that on Mahashivratri day, whole night people chant the name of Shiva. Those who are following same way, Saraswati Puja is there. So people are there who pray to Saraswati for wisdom, for jnana, for knowledge. There are, at the same time, there are people who just worship Lakshmi. So they will go on chanting the name of Lakshmi and the mantras related to mantra, Devi Lakshmi. So this way, each one has got own Ishta Devata. And this sutra is telling us that when Swadhyaya is done, from Swadhyaya, one can have a direct communion with the Ishta Devata, with the desired deity. So the principle of Swadhyaya needs to be understood. We have already discussed Swadhyaya when we were discussing Sutra 1 of chapter 2, Sadhana Path, when we were discussing Kriya Yoga. That time we saw that Tapas Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. So while discussing Kriya Yoga, we had gone in detail of Tapa, Swadhyaya and Ishwar Pranidhan. And there we saw the details of Swadhyaya. So here this sutra is talking about the siddhi which is attained as a result of successful practice of Swadhyaya. When one gets established in his Swadhyaya of a particular deity, then that deity becomes visible to him. And this is not only about the deity, but even some people have gurus. Some people worship their gurus like deity. So they may even have siddhas and gurus as their Easter. And even such gurus or deities, siddhas may appear in front of them if they are intensely practicing this kind of thing. So many people will, strive to have darshana or strive to have vision of their spiritual teacher. And the success comes when a spiritual teacher comes into the vision of the worshipper, and he is blessing. Now that's where the success lies. So these are the various areas which are there. You'll find these are very commonly available for our study in India. We find people worshipping different deities and chanting different mantras. The principle has been laid down in Sutra 28 of chapter 1, where they say Tasya Vachaka Pranava. Pranava is the name of Ishvara. So the Ishvara, the Klesha Karma Vipaka Shaira Paramrushta Purusha Vishesha Ishvara. So that Ishvara which is always free from the kleshas, karmas, vasanas, tripaka, and the consequences, that Ishvara is represented by a symbol. His name has been given as Pranava, that is Omkar. So next sutra tells us the principle Tajjapas Tadartha Bhavanam. So this Omkar is to be chanted and the meaning behind it. It is not to be merely chanted by way of repetition, mechanical repetition, but every time Omkar mantra is chanted, the meaning behind that mantra has to be kept in mind. So the Artha and Bhavna, these two go hand in hand. What is the meaning of the mantra and what idea it represents, what kind of feeling it generates. So now one has to understand that if it is a mechanical repetition of the mantra, then it may not have much impact on the personality of the individual. Some benefits are definitely there, because even if he's mechanically doing like we do in case of asanas or physical techniques, if mechanical movement is there, then also the benefit is there. So mentally also, if a mechanical movement is there, then also the benefit will be there, but the benefit will be very less. Whereas if it is done along with the artha and bhavna, then it will have tremendous impact on the personality. So in chapter 1, Sutra 28 says, Tajjapas Tadartha Bhavanam. उसका जप करना चाहिए और जप के साथ साथ में उसके अर्थ की भावना करनी चाहिए. Same principle applies to Swadhyaya. So when we did chapter 2, Sutra 1, that time we saw that what is the meaning of Swadhyaya. Very briefly, we will recall it. We'll try to understand again what is the meaning of Swadhyaya. We saw Swadhyaya had three meanings. The first meaning and the primary meaning is chanting of the mantras. And mantras are always related to God. They are always related to some deity. That was the primary meaning of Swadhyaya. The second meaning of Swadhyaya was study of the scriptures which are related to spirituality, which are related to God, और which are related to liberation of the individual. तो मोक्ष शास्त्र के जो शास्त्र हैं उनका अध्ययन करना ये भी स्वाध्याय है. और शास्त्रों की जब भी हम लोग बात करते हैं, तो there are many shastras. In India, you'll find n number of shastras, religious books are there. So which book to read? You know, in there also the choice is there. Some people may prefer Bhagavad Gita. Some people may refer to Mahabharata, Ramayana. You know, it's a very important religious practice in entire North India to read Valmiki Rama, Tulsidas Ramayana. So majority of people will read Tulsi Krit Ramayana every day as a part of ritual, as a part of daily routine, as a part of daily sadhana. Same way, there are some people who read Bhagavad Gita daily. Some people read Manache Shlok. Some people may, read other books like Bhagavad Gita's version. Jnaneshwari is there in Maharashtra. Jnaneshwari is read very, very regularly by many people. Same way, Das Bodh is there. So in that also you'll find the various scriptures are there. So even reading of these scriptures which are taking us in the direction of God, which are taking us in the direction of spiritual upliftment, any such reading will constitute Swadhyaya. And basically among these scriptures, three categories are there. One which are talking about the basic principles, they talk about the nature of spirit, they talk about the nature of God, they talk about or they deal with the essence of God. So they talk of something which is very high. So they talk about principles which are governing the universe, the principles which are behind the universe. Now, normally we don't read such scriptures. So, which are those scriptures? So, Vedas are directly like that. Aranyakas or Upanishads are directly there. So, Upanishads are the principal, scriptures which are dealing with the tattvas, tatvik vivechan, philosophical, and they are pure philosophy. It's very hard to really follow them. Then there are Shastras, Darshan Shastras are there, which are telling us about how to conduct our behavior, how to lead our life, what should we do, what should be our thinking pattern, how our bodies are functioning, how our minds are functioning, what are the obstacles in our path, how our mind is functioning, what is the nature of the mind, what should we do to improve the mind. Now, all this is done in order to understand the principles which are in the first order of scriptures. So, in this second category, all the Moksha Shastra, books will come. So, Vedanta will come, or Nyaya will come, Mimamsa will come, Yoga will come, Sankhya will come, Sankhya Sutras or Yoga Sutras, they will fall in the category. It's a very well developed system which is giving an elaborate methodology to attain the highest truth. So that is there. And then there are other general, in a way, Bhagavad Gita also would fall under general, because when we read Bhagavad Gita, it is not related to a particular area of thought like Vedanta is, or for that matter, Yoga Sutra is. Bhagavad Gita gives us a very detailed information, and out of that one has to select. But one who reads Bhagavad Gita, there's a definite change in his personality. There's a definite change in his thinking. So all these scriptures are really helping. The third aspect of Swadhyaya is that essentially they have got to do with our own self-development. So they are connected to our self-analysis, self-understanding. We have seen that self-understanding is the most important thought process, most important aspect, or most important goal in the Indian thinking. Because yoga very clearly says, the more you know about yourself, the more you can know about the world. If you want to understand the other person's mind, you have to understand your own mind first. It is like, when we are doing asanas, even at physical level, if we understand our body well, then we can help other person to understand it. Or we can help if he is in difficulty at the physical level, because we know how the body functions. We know what mechanisms are there. So we can help. Same way, when we know more and more about ourselves, then we can know the world and the other people. So essentially, third meaning of Swadhyaya is that we keep on thinking about ourselves, where we are, what we want, where we want to go, how our behavior is, whether that behavior is right or wrong. It is appropriate or not appropriate. And if we are having a particular pertinent kind of experience in life, for example, we are unnecessarily suffering, we are having relationship issues, we are having health issues, we are having emotional issues because of which our health is affected. So when we come across these kind of experiences, then we have to ask ourselves, what is it which is going wrong? What wrong I am committing? What needs to be done to correct it? All those areas are self-analysis area, self-understanding. So essentially, these two scriptures reading also is connected to self, because who will chant mantras out of us? Let us think about it. If I today start chanting mantra, is it just happening accidentally? It is not happening accidentally. We have to think about it. Why I want to do it? What is it why I want? So each one who's seriously deciding to do Swadhyaya, some thinking has been done as to what needs to be done and why it needs to be done. So at the basis of this practice of Swadhyaya, there's some kind of self-understanding, which is very important. And without this self-understanding, we don't chant, we don't go in certain direction. We know we want to go in that direction, then only we'll be chanting, then only we will be. So these are the various kinds of aspects which are connected to Swadhyaya. But here in this particular sutra, in Sutra 44, it is the mantra part, chanting part, which is most important. Scripture part is also there, but through scriptures we have to practice and perfect our mantras and our chanting. So here the primary thing which is being talked about by this sutra is that when one is established in his mantra sadhana, when one is established in his repetition of sacred mantras, then he can get established connection with the deity, his desired deity. So it could be Bajrangbali Hanuman, it could be Vidya Devi Saraswati, it could be Lakshmi, it could be Shiva, it could be Ram, it could be Krishna, any deity. So if one is sincerely practicing, now here the idea is that one is remembering the essence of that mantra, and the moment one may say Krishna Krishna, Hey Krishna, Hey Krishna, Hey Krishna, but when one says Hey Krishna, the moment he says Hey Krishna, the entire significance of the word Hey Krishna should appear in the mind. It should move in our consciousness. Only then this kind of effect will be there. तो मंत्र साधना तो सभी करते हैं, रिपीटेशन राम 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 भी बोलते हैं. राम 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 अगर मैकेनिकली बोलेंगे तो it doesn't work. And then we have to also understand that this particular practice of chanting the name of the God is the most prevalent and most common practice all over the world in all religions. This is the primary technique which is adopted by the worshippers of God in all the religions of the world. So rosary beads are there, they are very common thing which is used for chanting of the mantras. Some people may use nowadays the modern machines have come, every time you say a name, you just click it and the number moves forward. So you know that how many numbers you have chanted. So those kind of things are also there. But this is the most prevalent practice all over the world. Chanting the name of God, chanting the name of deity, so that the deity is kept again and again in the mind. As a result, what is happening? We are seeing that certain qualities are developed as a result of contemplating on certain qualities. So let us talk about very mundane kind of thing. If a person is constantly thinking about Lakshmi ji, and then his mind is working in the direction of how to make more money, then he will find ways and means of earning money. If a person is a devotee of Saraswati and he is seeking knowledge, then all his direction would be to gain more and more understanding, more knowledge. So his chanting is going to help him in going in that direction. So this is the important thing. And another thing is, when we talk about chanting involves the vak, the speech. Now this speech is very, very important. Why this technique? As I told you, it is a technique which is prevalent all over the world. It is very common technique. Any kind of society you go in the world, you'll find that this prevalent practice is there, where majority of the people, if they can't do anything else, now everybody cannot meditate, everybody cannot, have the all kind of tapasya and all kind of austerities. He may not be able to fast, he may not be able to undergo physical difficulties. So the very easiest method is just go on chanting the name of God. This is the, and why it is so efficacious, why it is so powerful. We have to understand that in chanting we are using our indriya, karmendriya, which is vak. Vak means speech. Now vak has got three meanings in scriptures. Vak means, one is the indriya itself, the apparatus through which we are producing sound, like I'm talking to you right now. And while talking to you, I'm using my vak, that is mouth. And this ability to talk, this ability to produce sound, this is one aspect of it. And whatever I'm saying, whatever you are hearing, so the sentences are being formed, vakya is being formed from the vak. Vak is producing vakya. My speech center is producing sounds, and these sounds can be heard by you by way of sounds, by way of words, by way of sentences. And then as soon as I am uttering them, you are able to make out meaning of what I am saying. So this is the second aspect of the vak. The vak means spoken word, spoken speech. Spoken word or word, this word called word is very important spiritual word. Most important. If you look at the traditions of Sant Sahitya, all the bhakti movement in India, there you will find the spoken word or shabda has been given tremendous importance. Even in Bible, same thing is there. So even in Bible, you will find that shabdas given lot of importance. And I think in Old Testament, Saint John, there is an opening statement in that in the beginning there was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. So this is the very important utterance in Bible. Similar kind of thoughts are there in the, as I told you, many traditions are there in India belonging to the various sects, various spiritual traditions which are there. So Bhakti movement was like Kabir was there, Guru Nanak was there. Now their followers also give a lot of importance to this Shabda. That's why you'll find when you go to Gurudwara, it is the Shabda which is most important. So here it is connected to speech. So why it is so significant? Why no other practice is so important as this Nama Japa? I think we had discussed about Nama Japa earlier also, where I had given the example of Gondolaji Maharaj. And I told you that the principal technique he suggests, do nothing, just chant the name of God. So this speech center is slightly different from the other karmendriyas. How it is different? Because the speech center is connected to the mind directly. And before uttering anything, there is a silent word verbalization which is going on in the brain, and then it gets converted into the spoken speech. That is happening at the mental level where the thoughts are arising. Now, just now, as we are talking to each other, I'm talking, you are listening, but when I'm talking and you are listening, the thoughts are formulated in the mind, and then thoughts are converted into the language, and then I'm speaking, and then you are listening, and when you will speak, you will also do the same thing. So this vak is connected to a higher center of brain, higher center of mind, where the thoughts are generated. And if we become thoughtless, it is possible to become thoughtless if we stop the words, if we stop speaking. So even when we talk about the speech is also at two levels. I am speaking, you are listening. But if you pay attention to your own minds, there are certain words arising in your mind, which you are not speaking, but they are words. That is also vak. But it is anucharit vak. What I am saying is ucharit. I am pronouncing it. I am saying it. But what is arising as a reaction, maybe it is anucharit. उच्चारण करने के पहले हमारे मन में वाक तैयार होता है, उसके बाद में उसका उच्चारण होता है. तो जब जो करते हैं वो जप के भी 3 प्रकार हैं। तो कौन से 3 प्रकार हम लोग देखते हैं जप के? उसमें एक वाचिक जप है, उपांशु जप है और मानस जप है। वाचिक जप है वो लाउडली रहता है, राम राम राम। और फिर दूसरा रहता है वो इतना धीरे रहता है कि केवल हम ही सुन सकते, उपांशु जप। और तीसरा जो जप रहता है मानस जप रहता है, केवल मन ही मन हम जप करते हैं। तो जब मन ही मन जप करते हैं तो मन में शब्द रहता है, लेकिन होठों पे आवाज में वो शब्द नहीं आता। तो ये जो अनुच्चारित शब्द है, इसको अगर हम ध्यान से देखेंगे तो इट डायरेक्टली गेट्स कनेक्टेड टू आवर हायर सेल्फ, इट गेट्स कनेक्टेड टू हायर सेंटर ऑफ द माइंड. So we can really directly through this japa we can reach our own consciousness. That is what is signified, that is what is important, that through japa we can, if we pay attention to this speech, if we pay attention to the chanting, if we pay attention to how we are formulating the words and speaking, then we can have access directly to our consciousness. That is what is claimed by the scriptures. And that's why you'll find that I gave you the, of course, we cannot go into much detail of it. If we look at Santa Sahitya and all the traditions which are there in India or even in other religions, like in Islam also, they talk about listening to the divine sounds. उसको जो बोलते हैं खुदाई बांग, उसको सुनना, divine sounds which are coming from God, one has to listen to them. Now, all this is connected to this japa idea, all this is connected to hearing this shabda idea. So, here in yoga, they do talk about this japa as a very significant thing. And if we look at the shrutis which are there, I was telling you that the Shastras talk about, like Upanishads are there, they talk about the pure principles which are governing the entire universe. So in one of the Upanishad, Kathopanishad, there is a very beautiful Shruti, there is a beautiful mantra. And that mantra, it reads, Yached Vang Manasi Prajnah Tad Yached Jnana Atmani Jnanam Atmani Mahati Niyached Tada Yache Shanta Atmani. This is from Kathopanishad. And it says that one should establish contact with this speech and connect it to mind. So the meaning in Hindi, if I read, प्राज्ञ व्यक्ति वाक को अर्थात संकल्प के भाषा को जो मन ही मन उच्चारित होता है, मन में संयत करे, मन को ज्ञानमय आत्मा में संयत करे, ज्ञान आत्मा को महान आत्मा में एवं महत आत्मा को शांत आत्मा में संयत करे, अर्थात विद्वान योगी संकल्प के भाषा जो मन ही मन उच्चारित होती है उसको संकल्पात्मक मन में संस्थापित करे। जैसे वो बोलते हैं मैं मुझे जान रहा हूँ, मुझे जान रहा हूँ, इस प्रकार आत्मभाव में स्थापित करे। इस विषय में मतलब उन्होंने और भी बहुत कुछ बोला हुआ है। सो दिस इज वन ऑफ द प्रिंसिपल टेक्निक एडॉप्टेड by all the spiritual practitioners. It's a coincidence. In 2019 November, when we visited Kapil Mutt in Madhupur, we met Swami Bhaskar Aranya, who is the third in Aranya tradition in Kapil Mutt. You know that we are referring to the book of Swami Hariharanand Aranya. So if you want to understand more deeply about this concept, then you should read Sutra 28 of chapter 1. And then you should also read Sutra 1 again of chapter 2, where Swadhyaya is being talked about. So a lot of emphasis is placed on Swadhyaya. So when we went to see Swami Bhaskar Aranya, continuously for 4 days we went to meet him. And every time we went there, we spent about 1.5 hours to 2 hours with him, because that is the only time he was available. Then after 5 days, he was to go back, withdraw, and then he will not come out for entire month. And in the next month, again, he will come out to speak to sadhakas just for few hours, and then again he will withdraw. And now, particularly this Chaturmas is going on. So as soon as Chaturmas begins, for 4 months, he will not meet anybody. For 4 months, nobody will see him. So he'll be living all alone and doing his sadhana. So that is the tradition there. And when we went to meet him, we had some questions and some queries in our mind as to what should we do. साधना अभी योग में बहुत साल से है, लेकिन उसको इंटेंसिफाई कैसे करें, उसमें उन्नति कैसे करें, ये हर एक का सवाल रहता है कि इतने वर्षों से वी आर प्रैक्टिसिंग योगा, उसमें आगे कैसे बढ़े. तो हमने उनको सवाल पूछा, तो तभी उन्होंने ये श्रुति जो मैंने अभी पढ़ के सुनाई आपको, ये श्रुति उन्होंने कहा कि इसको फॉलो करें. तुम्हारे मन में जो उच्चारण चल रहा है, मन में जो संकल्प चल रहे हैं, उसकी तरफ देखते रहो. मन ही मन तुम क्या बोल रहे हो, उसको देखते रहो. जब मन ही मन तुम बोल रहे हो उसको देखते रहेंगे, तो वो धीरे धीरे वो कम हो जाएगा. और फिर मन में एक प्रकार का भाव आ जाता है. द मोमेंट सम स्पीच अराइज इन अवर unspoken speech arises in our apparatus, we become aware that this is what is I am thinking, and we can stop it there and then. So the mind gets connected to, and for that it is also easy way of doing. Before speaking, let us connect it to mind, and let the mind say, or let the mind decide that this is what I am going to speak, whether I should speak it or I should not speak it. So this way the speech gets connected to the mind, and mind gets connected to awareness. It gets connected to higher awareness. So this is the way they say that, walk has to be established in mind, mind has to be established in Jnanatma. What is Jnanatma? Jnanatma is our ego. I am knowing this, I am knowing this, now I'm knowing fan, I'm looking at you, now I'm looking at the book, now I'm looking at something, so I'm knowing this, I'm knowing that. This is Jnanatma. So the practice will take in the direction where one is aware. I'm thinking this, I'm thinking this, I'm aware that I'm doing this. I'm aware that I'm doing this. I'm aware that I'm chanting. I'm aware that this is how I'm chanting. So now the speech is getting connected to Jnana. And behind this ego, mutative ego, behind this changeful ego, these are the concepts we already discussed. So manas is there, then ahankar is there, then buddhi or pure eye sense is there. So one gets and is connected to pure eye sense, which is Mahanatma. And from Mahanatma, one can even understand what is Shantatma, the spiritual essence we all have. So this is the important thing. And then, one of the Shanti mantras of Rig Veda, very important Shanti mantra which we often chant, and which is very commonly, known. Om Vang Me Manasi Pratishtita, Mano Me Vachi Pratishtita. Same things. The Shruti which we read earlier, same thing is there. Om Vang Me Manasi Pratishtita, Mano Me Vachi Pratishthitam, Aviravir Maedhi, Vedasya Ma Anistha, Shrutam Me Ma Prahasihi, Anenadite Nahoratran Sandadami. So this is the mantra which is chanted very often. You will hear this mantra, this Rigvediya Shanti mantra. There also the same thing is said. Vang Me Manasi Pratishtita. मेरा मन को और वाक को इस ढंग से एक दूसरे में एस्टैब्लिश करो. मेरे वाक को मन में स्थापित करो और मेरे मन को वाक में स्थापित करो. So that whatever I say, I am mindful of that. See, this is the most significant part. Being mindful of what is being said, being aware. This is the most significant part. So Swadhyaya, done from this point of view, when we do Swadhyaya, the meaning has to come, the awareness has to be there. Only when that awareness is there, because whatever is the deity, if the deity is representing certain idea, that idea has to go into the consciousness. Only when it goes into the consciousness, moves in the consciousness, then the consciousness becomes creative and it can produce results. Then one may immediately feel that he is in presence of the deity. Now same will be applied to the Ishvara. If one has got the highest conception of God, then perhaps one may get some kind of indications, one may feel the presence of God. So that has been already stated in Sutra 28 of chapter 1, Tajjapas Tadartha Bhavanam. And the result of that kind of japa is tatah prataka chetna adigamopyantaraaya bhavas. So one realizes the divinity, the Atma, which is there in all of us. We are living, we are conscious beings. So the pure consciousness which is there in all of us, that is realized. That means one is able to cut down on all distractions, all thoughts, all vrittis, as if the vritti stops and then one is able to come face to face with the reality. All these are again very high concepts. But one thing is there, that japa is a very important technique all over the world. And the more japa is done, the more one pointedness is gained. So that is the immediate benefit of japa. If you want to improve our concentration, then japa is a very good technique. Sometimes people have good concentration, so they may not necessarily need japa. Without japa also they can, but most of the people are not able to concentrate properly. So japa can be very easy way of concentration. And for various methods are there. I met one person last year. So I saw that whenever I met that person, she was writing in her notebook, Ram, 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 Ram. You know, wherever she sits, she just goes on writing Ram, Ram. So this is also one way of making mind one pointed. Now Patanjali says yogas chitta vritti nirodha. तो वृत्ति निरोध डायरेक्टली नहीं हो सकता है, लेकिन वृत्तियों को जप के द्वारा या मानसिक जप हो या लिखने वाला जप हो, ये जप के द्वारा मन को थोड़ा एकाग्र कर सकते हैं, मन को थोड़ा शांत कर सकते हैं. तो ये उसके पीछे भावना है, ये उसके पीछे एटीट्यूड है. So this is how we understand this siddhi, that when this kind of japa with this kind of intensity is done, then a possibility is there that the Ishta Devata will appear. And this is a principle, again, I did not talk about Mantra Shastra at all. You know, Mimamsakas, they look at Mantra Shastra, Tantra Shastra and Mantra Shastra. Tantra Shastra is nothing but Mantra Shastra. So there also the same thing is there. How the mantra works, that we have not gone into that area. Here we are talking about japa, simple japa.
Sir, it means that, can we say that japa becomes the object of meditation?
Yeah, the idea represented by japa.
But
Yeah.
but what I feel, because right now, as like, I'm writing this Bhagavad Gita, like all the verses, 700 verses. So when I feel like, when you said na, that people are writing Ram Ram Ram, so I'm just writing this. What I have observed many a times, the mind is fully concentrated on writing my verse and feeling its meaning, and but many a times it is not there. So when it is not there, I guess that doesn't comes into that level of mind getting engrossed and concentrated completely, right?
Yeah. So here you see, when we are writing all the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita, various kinds of ideas are there. So suppose today you have written 10 shlokas. So after writing 10 shlokas, if you look at your mind and if you recall what you have done, then maybe your mind will go in the first shloka, then it may go to third shloka, then it may go to 10th shloka, or it may go to 7th shloka. So now that is what is not meant here in Japa. In Japa, the single idea is represented. Single idea is there. And that idea has to repeat itself every time you are chanting something. So in Bhagavad Gita, you may think of Arjuna Vishana Yoga, then you may think of Sankhya Yoga, then में पुरुषोत्तम मंत्र चल रहा है तो पुरुषोत्तम योग चलेगा, तो आत्म संयम होगा जाएगा, कुछ भी मतलब विचार आ सकते हैं मन में. So that is not what is meant here. Here it is meant that you select some idea and select one deity and you just go on contemplating on that. So the mind becomes not diverted, but it becomes focused on one thing, one idea.
निरंजन जी बोलते हैं कि गॉड इज फॉर्मलेस.
हाँ.
तो ये जो भी कृष्ण हुए, राम हुए, ये तो एक अवतार हैं, ऐसा बोलते हैं भगवान के.
हाँ.
तो अल्टीमेट जो भगवान है, ईश्वर है, ही इज फॉर्मलेस. तो अपन जो कई बार ऐसा सोचते हैं कि ये जैसे तुमने बताया कि ये सब करने से द डीटी विल प्रेजेंट हिमसेल्फ और हर सेल्फ. तो लाइक ऐसा बोलता है ही इज फॉर्मलेस, सो वी कैन जस्ट feel his presence. Because once I just happened to ask Dr. Saab, कि भाई, have you seen God? So
Ah,
I have not seen God, but I can feel his presence all the time.
yeah, yeah.
So what have you to say about this?
See, in Indian tradition, you will find the most prevalent nowadays, prevalent and popular scripture is Bhagavad Gita. So in Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna himself says that मेरा जो स्वरूप है उसको कोई जान नहीं सकता. तो वो जो है वो निर्गुण स्वरूप है. लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि लोग मुझे सगुण फॉर्म में नहीं जप सकते. मैं सगुण फॉर्म में भी जो जैसे जपता है उसके सामने मैं वैसे आ जाता हूँ. जो जिस फॉर्म में मुझे जपता है उसी फॉर्म में मैं उसको प्राप्त हो जाता हूँ. ये कृष्ण के वर्ड्स हैं और इसके पीछे एक सच्चाई. सी, वन इज देयर, एवरीबडी हैज गॉट डिफरेंट कैपेसिटी. Many people, when you talk about say something formless, how do we conceive God as formless? So our mind goes into a kind of difficult situation where it cannot conceive of formless God. So it needs some kind of help, because one of the weakness of mind is that it wants to hold on to something which is tangible, which can be perceived. So that is why the form is initially needed. But they say that later on one has to transcend the form. So one has to give up that form to be able to experience the formless. And ultimately, God is formless. And this is something which you will find that even in Islam, even in Christianity, they perceive God as formless. And in India, in Hinduism, you will find Nirguna Brahma. Nirguna Brahma is formless. That is the ultimate thing. But then apart from Nirguna Brahma, there is also Saguna Brahma. So all these deities which we are talking about, they are part of the Saguna Brahma. They have got attributes, they have got qualities. So qualities could be in the form of particular form, particular color, particular shape, particular power. So all that which can be described with the help of sensory input, that is ascribed to these deities. So both methods are valid. So one may begin at Saguna, but ultimately one has to realize that Nirguna. So it becomes easy for a personality in front of us to focus on. So we select according to somebody, like some people, like Dr. Jaydev, you mentioned once I think Ansaben had told us that, amongst all the, deities, he used to, like Shiva. So it was just briefly mentioned. Otherwise, nobody knew what doctor did as far as this kind of sadhana is concerned. But then he liked Shiva. Whether he practiced Shaivism, whether he worshipped Shiva like normally we understand by worship, that I do not know. But then he always talked about God. Leave it to God. Leave it to God. Feel the presence of God. That way so Saguna and Nirguna idea, and both are valid here. They are accepted. And then when Saguna is there, sometimes when we are in great difficulty, we need a form, that the form is speaking to us that don't worry, I'm there. So without form, that feeling doesn't come. So that time the form is needed. But then there comes a time with the development of the mind, with the spiritual development, with the spiritual experiences, a stage may come when one doesn't require any physical form. He feels that God is within him, around him all the time. That possibility is there. Like, many people have vouched for that. They have talked about it.
So, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So, one of the things you said is if I'm chanting, say, Krishna mantra, I
Yeah.
should also keep in mind the significance of Krishna.
Yes.
So, can you just elaborate on that significance of Krishna? Do you mean he's free from kleshas, karmas, and vipak? He's powerful, all over, omniscient, omnipresent.
Yeah, that will be the best thing to do if we can focus on those kind of qualities, that he's free from kleshas, he's free from karma, he's free from every limitation we have. So that when we are thinking of that kind of freedom of Ishvara, then somewhere a little bit of it can be experienced by the individual who is doing it. So definitely that is there, but many times it is, a particular quality of Krishna, that he's a kind of very powerful and very intelligent, and he can deal with any life situation. He can deal with any difficulty. Those ideas are also there. So sometimes, when we think about that, it helps us to deal with our problems. So both ways it is possible. But conceiving the highest possible divine qualities, abhi jaise, see, in Christianity, the essential nature of God is kind, God is loving. This is the essential quality of God. But in Islam also you'll find Allah Kareem hai, Allah Rahim hai. So Rahim bolte hain, Kareem bolte hain, to kyun bolte hain? That is the quality of, he is Nirguna, he is Nirakar. But Rahim hai, Kareem hai, वो मेहरबानी करने वाला है, वो दयालु है. God is love himself. God is very kind. So we are focusing on the kindness quality of Ishwar. So some idea is there when we say God, immediately that kind figure comes, that kindness comes, and we feel good about it. We feel protected. We know that He is there to take care.
So if I'm a believer of Krishna, and if I'm chanting the Gayatri mantra in front of Krishna, or Om Sahana Bhaktu in front of Krishna, because those two mantras don't necessarily have a deity, or they are in general talking about good of everyone, right? They don't necessarily focus on a particular deity.
Yes.
That is
So
fine,
that,
right?
so that idea which is representing which is represented by that mantra, if that idea is recalled again and again, then we are doing correct kind of job.
Right. So I'm clear on that Sena Bhavtu ka meaning, but Gayatri Mantra, once Dr. Saab had explained very briefly in a Parisambhad. But if not now, but maybe if you have something on Gayatri Mantras, just a simple translation of the Gayatri Mantra, that would be useful. That we can, while saying prayer, we can, keep it in mind. You or Ajay Bhai or anyone who has some this thing, that will be great. May not be now, maybe later. No problem.
Others also can keep in mind, if they have got a good idea or good translation of Gayatri, they can share. Earlier, long back, I used to have one by Rajaji Rajgopalachari. I'll check if still I'll share with you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, silent chanting is not as powerful as chanting,
No,
right?
silent chanting is more powerful.
Is
So
more powerful.
from Vachik, the Upanshu is better. From Upanshu, the Mansik is better.
Because I thought you said that when you chant, you get connected to the higher center of mind, right?
You are going, when you are speaking loudly, it is easy to hold on to the concentration of the mind. Because spoken word is there, but in Mansik Japa, it is difficult. So Mansik Japa is more difficult than the Vachik Japa.
So when
Loud
you're walking,
chanting, silent chanting is difficult, and it is subtler.
So if you're walking and you're just chanting the mantra,
silently.
Is that a good idea, or because?
See, the ideal thing would be that the idea is repeated as we chant the mantra. The idea representing mantra should appear. While walking, it may not be possible.
Correct.
But then even that while walking, if we are doing it, that also has got tremendous effect on the mind, that no unnecessary thoughts will arise and mind will go more and more towards concentration.
Right.
So later on, when you are sitting alone and quietly concentrating, the concentration will definitely be better because you have been practicing that.
So just one small thing, you said Ishwar is free from kleshas, karma, and vipak. What is vipak exactly?
Vipak is the consequences of karma. Three vipak is there: jati, ayu, and bhoga. This we had discussed in Sutra 12 and 13 of chapter 2. Karma theory. So vipak is jati, ayu, and bhoga. Three vipak it is called.
So, and one last thing, this Aranya is that the answer he gave you, that Shruti, if you could share that on a WhatsApp or something, that would be great. We'll keep that in
That Shruti?
Yeah, the one that the third generation of Aranya shared.
Yes. I'll put it on the group. I'll put it on the group. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
Sir, from Rigved you told, no? That you please put up in the group.
Rigvediya Shanti Mantra. Okay, that also I'll put. Both the Shruti and Rigvediya Shanti Mantra, both I will put on them.
So, is there any time that you ideally recommend for mantra jap when we do it mansit?
It is withdrawn from the external disturbance. The quieter the place, the better it is. If you are alone, that is better. If no distractions are there, that is better. Otherwise, the timings, it is difficult. Early morning when one is getting up fresh, that is the best time, because naturally the concentration is very good. No distractions are there. So among the traditions, they recommend the early morning time for chanting mantras or japa.
So actually, sir, Agashe sir has taught us this way. Like the first is the Vachik, which is called as Vaikhari, which is louder. So when mind is distracted, you should start with louder, so
Yeah.
that the mind gets settled. And then there is Upanshu, which is the mumble words. And sir used to say it's only that, somebody next sitting to you only can hear, and not it is spread everywhere. So that is your Upanshu. And then the Pashyanti, only you can hear that chant. It is that slow and subtle. And then the fourth is Para, which is your middle. So it actually transcends. There is a, it is a transcendence, and then it becomes the Ajapa Japa.
Yeah, while teaching Onkar Sadhana, he used to say this.
Yes.
So all the 4 stages of Vak has got 4 stages: Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari.
Yes.
So Vaikhari, even Swamiji, I told you about Swamiji. They also said that suppose if you are doing chanting and you are getting distracted, lots of disturbance is coming, then you start loudly saying Om, 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 very loudly. And if you keep doing it for a few minutes, then your mind will become stable. Then you become quiet, and then you go. So this is again a very common practice for the japa. If the mind is not able to focus in silence, then Vaikhari is always better to begin with, or in between also. It is not only at the beginning. You have been meditating since long, and suddenly you find the minds are overtaken by some thoughts.
Yes.
And the mind is very disturbed. That time, for few repetition of Vaikhari mantra will immediately bring the mind back to focus.
And exactly the same thing, sir, we do it in Anapana or Vipassana as well. When the mind gets distracted, Guruji says that, now start taking deep breaths, like few breaths.
Yeah.
So the mind gets concentrated again, and then again go with the normal breathing.
Yeah. Not only that, they also say that even if you are not able to concentrate, then get up and walk few steps and then come back and sit.
Yes.
That is also
when
very,
because of age, when it becomes little dark, little late evening, and more traffic, and suppose I have to cross, means when I'm walking and I'm crossing, I become little more fearful nowadays. Then when I chant, some mantra inside only, then suddenly within 2-3 minutes, that fear will go and I will be able to cross. Means sometimes,
nice.
a lot of traffic and no
Yes,
way to cross, and it has become dark. Then means because of age or whatever maybe, I become little more fearful, so I avoid going. But sometimes it is happening, then I chant, inside, then it is really helpful, sir.
Yeah, name of God is always helping to become strong.
So is it happening because of the faith she might have for that, any mantra of any Ishta or so?
See the fact that it is working, that is enough.
Yeah.
If we try to analyze it too much, then we go into intellectual area and it has got no end there.
Lately क्या हो रहा है, I don't know from where I got this inspiration that whenever we friends meet or even in business circle, like instead of saying hi and good morning, the idea is to say Jai Shri Krishna or Hari Om. So इसी बहाने greeting भी हो जाता है और भगवान का नाम भी निकल जाता है. तो I think that is a very good practice जो आजकल है कई उसमें, and I think it's fine. So
You have been doing this since quite long now, I think, because every time you call me and the first word I say, yes, Ajay. And then you say Jai Shri Krishna. And then I say Jai Shri Krishna.
अच्छा है मेरे ख्याल से, अपना जो
हाँ,
ट्रेडिशन
अच्छा
है
है,
वो अच्छे
अच्छा
हैं।
है।
So for us also, when we get up, we go to bed. We go out. Every time we say Jai Shri Krishna. Every time, like
Yeah.
if anybody we meet, we say that.
Good, good.
Sir, is there any mantra that you would strongly recommend, basis Vedic scriptures or basis any scriptures?
See, the highly recommended mantra is Omkar only that way. And the second mantra is Ram Nam. Chanting of the word Ram. And otherwise, there are very powerful mantras. Om Namah Shivaya is there. Jai Shri Krishna is there. Or, nowadays that chanting is there. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. So these are there, but
Mahamrutyunjay Japa.
smaller, smaller mantras are considered to be better. So Ram can be there. Om Namah Shivaya could be there. Namah Shivaya could be there. Or just Om. Aranya yogic tradition is more inclined towards Omkar.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
just one sharing.
Yeah.
For instance, when we are speaking about japa or mantra, the emphasis is on the bhava behind it and
Yes.
intent behind it. And that
Yes.
could also probably be one reason why we just focus on the bija mantra. Because
Yeah.
then there is not too much emphasis on the grammar or the intonation or the emphasis stress on particular words, which not everyone will be able to do it.
Yeah.
And then we get lost in the process instead of we get too much carried away by that instead of going into the essence of it. So
Yeah.
how important is the intonation and the stress and emphasis? Just your insight on this.
See, that's why I told you that we will not venture into the area of mantra shastra, because here we are talking about mantras like Om, which are representing a particular idea. Om Namah Shivaya, Krishnaya Namah, Shivaya Namah, yeah, Ram. They are representing certain ideas. But when we talk about Bij mantras are like sounds. So there the conception has to be, one has to be guided by the teacher, by the guru as to what is. So suppose if you are focusing on Lam or Ram, now Ram is meaningful, but Ram may not be meaningful. But Ram is a mantra, it is a Bija mantra, and it represents certain idea. So if teacher gives us that idea that what is Ram is represented by Ram, and then then one can focus on that, and it becomes very easy. But that is more related to mantra shastra, as I told you, where we are talking about Bija mantras more. And there's a totally different field.
Yeah, sir, it's very important to chant it in a proper way also, for mantra.
Yeah. So
This
from
is
mantra
referring
shastra, from mantra shastra point of view, the intonation, the tone, the emphasis, it becomes very important, very important.
For example, say even a Gayatri Mantra Japa, there's a emphasis on how it should be pronounced in different
Yes.
way, and so
that is true of entire Sanskrit language, where aghat is there and then emphasis is there, or prolongation is there. So and that way entire Sanskrit is considered to be mantramay.
But the ultimate reality is that the bhava, underlying bhava, is the most important, right?
It is the most important. As per Patanjali, if we go, that the ultimate guiding principle is Sutra 28 of chapter 1. Tajjapas tadartha bhavanam. That is the guiding principle for yoga student.
Because one can be very perfect in grammar and everything, but then if it doesn't have that power, then it doesn't have the. Thanks.
और दूसरा भाव इज मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट. बिना भाव के तो ईश्वर कहाँ मिलते हैं.
Right.
बिना भाव तो वो टुकड़ो जी महाराज थे महाराष्ट्र के, उनका एक गाना सुना था. क्या भगवान जो है वो मूर्ति में नहीं है, भगवान लकड़ी में नहीं है, क्योंकि लकड़ी में भगवान रहता था तो लकड़ी को जलने का डर है. पत्थर में भगवान रहता था तो पत्थर को टूटने का डर है. इसीलिए भगवान कहाँ पे भाव में है. जिथे ना ही भाव तिथे, जहाँ पे भाव नहीं वहां भगवान नहीं, ऐसा ये संत लोगों का कहना है. So bhav becomes important.
Yes. Thank you.
It means without bhav, these are just set of words only.
Yeah, then you see, we are like, we are uttering any other thing. If we are uttering mantra
Yeah.
like that, then it may not have effect.
Like Valmiki, like he was not able to chant Ram only, but he was applauded. You just sing, you just do it with bhavna, then it will automatically start having an
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, he was saying Mara 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 Mara.
Sir, just to add on to Varsha ji's this when she was crossing the road and all. So my dadi, my grandmother used to always tell me, whenever you are taking God's name, whenever you are doing some japa, Krishna or whomever you are thinking about will herself come there, hold your hand and take you forward. He will remove all the obstacles in the way. So probably that is what is happening with Varsha ji. She is able to cross the road so well.
Yeah.
By doing that mantra chanting. So
True.
it's that miracle.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Nice session to reflect upon, sir. Every session is priceless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
sir.
everyone. Thank you, everyone.